call the meeting to order. I see there's a few people here who aren't perhaps planning to speak, maybe a couple. So it's good to have everyone here. So this is our regular open meeting that we've been doing for a number of years. The members of P+Z who are here now are Steve Sicardi, Peter Kalmus, Anna Tamel, Jill Cutler, me, Dave Colbert, and alternates Ginny Potter and Ben Gray Jr. Contrary to what appeared in the Chronicle, this meeting is largely a time for the various groups who are working to make Cornwall a better place to have a chance to share what they are up to. The new town plan will be touched upon, but it is not the focus of this meeting. And that's simply because not much has happened since our forum in October. Most of our planning time in 2017 involved so I'm speaking on behalf of planning and zoning now. Most of our planning time in 2017 involved the consideration of our regulations governing agriculture. Here's a little history. In 2015, a village center subcommittee comprised of Anna Tamel, Jill Cutler, James Laporta, and Ginny Potter was formed to see if our regulations were needlessly hampering economic growth in the village centers. It did a little work on that. We had a few regulation changes. Then at our January 2017 meeting, it was officially renamed the Economic Development Subcommittee. Since then, it has focused on agriculture. After much work, it is proposing regulations that would, to a large extent, free agriculturally related activity from P&Z oversight. The regulation is not drafted at this, is not fully drafted at this time, but we expect it to come to public hearing before too long. Stay tuned, and your input is welcome. Now for the town plan. As you all probably know by now, town plans need to be updated every 10 years, which means ours is due to be completed in May of 2020. It can be done sooner, but that's the deadline. It can also be done in sections sooner. An update of the town plan is a time when new energy and new ideas can find their way into a town's planning for the future. In October, we launched the town plan update at a forum on CCS. About 50 residents met, heard about the process, and then broke up for discussion revolving around 5 groups: community resources, economic development, housing, natural resources, and youth. subcommittees appointed by planning and zoning will work on those 5 areas. The Natural Resources Subcommittee has been appointed, but all the others have openings. If you might be interested in serving on one of them, please speak to us after this meeting, or contact Karen, who's here somewhere in back there, at our office. We expect to have surveys as part of the town plan update. We expect to undertake surveys through an internet service and have regular informational meetings regarding the town plan updates. So you won't have to be on a subcommittee to have an opportunity to be kept up to date and find out more. All the information will be posted on the website at the top of the planning and zoning page. At the moment, there's one item in our town plan update page, but I expect soon there will be a lot more. Now we're going to hear from, that's all I have to say for planning and zoning. Are there any questions regarding planning and zoning? Okay, so we have 18 or more possible groups to speak. Some of them won't, but I have in alphabet. I tried to do some semblance of alphabetical order, although in deference to the Board of Selectmen, I'd like to ask Gordon to speak first.
Thank you, David. And deference to people who will follow. I'll try to make my remarks as brief and as relevant as possible. Yeah? I'll go out this way. Yeah. So, and my other selectmen here, Priscilla and Richard, so if I go too far off topic, I'm sure they'll pull me back. And looking at preparing for this morning's meeting, I came across my notes from 2 years ago, and the last thing was attracting young families was the last 3 words. So I can just say that and sit down. But that's sort of the overriding theme of, I think, what I've been saying, what our board has been looking at, and the town's biggest challenge 2 years ago and still. These are very busy times, very busy year for the town. In a lot of ways on the surface, the town doesn't seem to change much, but the winds of change are blowing here as well as other places. Last night we had a good meeting at the school talking about the future of education in Cornwall. And again, there was 50 people, a good cross-section of town there, a lot of positive ideas, a good process that's working itself. But this issue of the future education in the town wasn't even on the radar or in the town plan. It's a topic that's so important to the town 10 years ago, and it shows how things are changing in a way people are focusing on the school enrollment, but in a way that enrollment is only emblematic of the changes that are going on in the rest of the town and the aging of our population, including the Board of Selectmen, and me personally. So, you know, it's nothing that's just a Cornwall problem, but it is right there front and center. And what was interesting is the overlap of a lot of the issues here and how they are all connected in a lot of ways. And the very good facilitator we had, Jonathan Costa, who grew up in the area, went to Boozy, and does this for a living, saying that 20 of the 21 districts in the area have lost 20% of their enrollment in the last 5 years. So it's going on throughout Litchfield County. And what was also interesting to him to say, something that stuck in my mind, was he said the regulations dealing with education were made by the state at a time when we were experiencing growth in population and enrollments. And some of those regulations actually inhibit our ability to adapt to the current situation. And I was thinking some of our land use regulations are also geared towards a time when there was more growth. And we have to be flexible and think about the challenges we are dealing with now, as opposed to the ones that we were looking at 10 years ago. And certainly affordable housing, again, even if that's not thought of as an education issue, that came up near the top of the list of impediments to people having kids in the school last year, or this year, or any year, next year. And talking to the school principal, our town efforts at applying and achieving affordable housing have had an outsized impact on the school population, being able to sustain young families in the town. So there is these overlaps between all these issues that ordinarily would be thought about on their own. And this issue of aging population isn't just affecting the school, but across the street at the fire department, they're having really important conversations about how they're able to sustain their level of service, sustain something that served the town for 60 years with a increasingly onerous amount of regulations and training, and older people having to fill these roles that we would like to have younger people for. And I think it's also important, the information that's coming out now. In the last 5 years, the town, for the first time in 100 years, has actually lost population of year-round residents. So those are all things that are going on. If you look at the town report, I've left some at the back of the room, and you can see how stark it is just even from a distance. The birth page of Cornwall, and unfortunately, the death page, the salute, and what's even more telling, this doesn't even include the people who are from Cornwall that have died at Gear or in a nursing home out of town that have had to leave here to go to Gear or to Noble for their last days. So this is probably 50% more people should be on this list. And that's, kind of grim, but that's what's going on. And you don't need a permit to die, and you don't need a permit to sell your house. But those two combinations is then when somebody dies, they move on and the houses are increasingly bought by part-time residents, those changes year after year, month after month, have a huge impact on the town. So, and I think people even in this village or other places are concerned about the town becoming vacant, becoming dark. No school kids get on the bus now here in Cornwall Village for CCS. So these are really important issues for us. And I think that we are looking as a board, and I think there's a lot of positive things that are going on. There's a lot of people getting together. There were 4 kids born last night in Sharon Hospital. So the question is, can we make a home for some of those kids in Cornwall? So it's not, and there are young families that are moving to town slowly, and there are other things that we have to keep in mind at the same time. And there's a lot of positive energy in this town. Again, when people, the solutions to our problems are in this town. We've had cutbacks from the federal level, the state level, but there's incredible energy and caring, commitment, and resources in this town, as seen today, and when we go through this process, see. So, to address some of these things, and I am optimistic, and I think our board is optimistic, but I also think it can't necessarily be just business as usual. We have to connect some of these dots and take action and have some achievements to turn things around. So our board, with our new election, set some goals, and some of these are familiar, and some of them aren't. But on December 5th, we adopted a set of goals, and these are what, trying to narrow our focus, because a lot of things come across our desk. But our goals are to fulfill our statutory obligations to superintend the town affairs, including public safety, roads and bridges, budgetary and fiduciary responsibilities, and cooperating with other town boards. And we are doing a major infrastructure bridge program. There's a lot of things that I won't dwell on, but our goal is also to encourage community vitality by encouraging more young people to move to Cornwall, more employment opportunities, enhanced programs for town residents, and maintaining the town's environmental quality, and also maintain the town's low tax rate. It's possible to do all those things at once. Our specific projects we're working on right now, we're collaborating with the Board of Ed, the assessment of the process of future education in Cornwall. We're involved in the town plan process, planning and zoning. We are working with the study group on the West Cornwall Sewer Project. We're working to implement a program for parking in West Cornwall at the Bend. Priscilla Pavel is spearheading our efforts to stay up to date with improving internet access to the community. We're looking at bridge projects, new docks at the Hammond Beach. We're doing inventory of town buildings. We're expanding social programs and other programs that come across our desk. The other thing I'd like to mention too is we at the office had Dean Zaccardi this summer start a program focusing on youth in town, and he's ongoing on that, and it's been exciting to get him involved in the process. So anyway, I'd be glad to answer any questions after everybody else has a chance to speak. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone from the Agricultural Commission who wants to speak? How about the Conservation Commission? Anyone from the Conservation Trust? The Land Trust?
Oh, I was just going to add, Pat Mulberry said that he's going to be here, so it's from the conservation.
And how about the EDC?
Hey, why not?
Yeah. Hey.
I mean, I got up this morning, I have to stand up here, right?
Yeah.
I already did a run this morning, so I'm feeling quite peppy. All right. Sorry? Buckle up, cowboy, it's going to get ugly. Hi, I'm Janet Carlson, I'm chair of the EDC, the Economic Development Commission, if you haven't figured that out already. I'm going to tell a story real quick and then I'll get into this. I attended my first Rotary dinner meeting, kind of under pressure, which is fine. You know, in the snowstorm, going to a Rotary meeting isn't the most exciting thing, but I did it anyway. I sat next to the newly elected, he's from Canaan, second selectman. And he said, I got tired of complaining, so I decided to run for selectman. So one of the things that I really want to impart here is if you're staying at home and complaining, run for something or shut up. And if you know someone who is volunteering, thank them because they're giving up time from business, friends, family, and other stuff, and sleep. So just, you know, think about that. That's my story for the day. All right, from the EDC chair, there were some interesting things happening this year. I talked to Mike Croft last night because I went to the school meeting. We actually have 6 new kids this year, since the fall. There's also another child in transition who's looking to do a tuition payment. So that actually may happen in the next couple of weeks. So we could be at 7 new kids for the year. That may sound inconsequential, but for Cornwall School, that's actually quite good. And the kids that are there, I go there on a couple of Fridays during the year and serve pizza. These kids are amazing. They fit in great. I mean, the kids from Syria are just doing amazingly. So we've got kids now, our school, I think I heard the number the other day that we're 30% diversity. So we have kids, like all different kinds of kids now. It's not just walking to the school and seeing like one brand of kid, we got different brands of kids. And you know what, and it's beautiful, it really is. So the school is doing very well. We've had families moving to town. We've had 5 new families move, plus 3 couples. 3 youngish couples. I think young, you can find any way you want. Probably if you don't have gray in your hair, probably get called young. I have gray, I just hide it. We have a couple moved down the street from us from Japan. So they moved from Tokyo. They were living in Tokyo for 16 years. They moved here. I still haven't figured out exactly how they found this place. I think they were on their way to Vermont, and they stopped here. And they said, this is less far from Vermont, let's just stop here. So they're doing great. They love this place. They said every day they fall more and more in love with Cornwall. They both have businesses. One is working, she works for Accenture. I hope this is not at school if I'm saying this, but she said it to me publicly, so. But she's working in the home, and then he has his own business. He does hotel development. That could come in handy too. So we're starting conversations there. I'm getting applied to drinks and I'm talking about the pink. There's a couple of older couples who've moved here so that their kids could go to high school here. So, the high school program is attracting people also. So, we've got movement going on, and I think that's a positive thing. From the business aspect of things, obviously everybody knows Pearlie's open. If you haven't been there, please go. These are people, it's a young couple with a new family. These are exactly the kind of people we've been begging to come here. They're showing up. Please let's support them. And by the way, the food's fantastic. And every time I look at the bill, I think there's a mistake because it seems cheaper than it should be. So that's not a bad thing. Trinity reopened. The lumber place reopened. The shops at the bridge are going to reopen. So Todd Piker's place is going to be called the Shops at the Bridge. That's going to have 2 retail spaces, collaborative workspace upstairs, and they're going to revamp the hair salon. So, that's going to be a really great attraction too. Let's see, ad campaigns. Okay, sorry, I'm on my second cup of coffee, so I say anything stupid, it's on me. Okay. We worked on infographics, which we're handing out this year. If you guys haven't seen this, we've been handing this out to real estate agents and using this in social media. It basically tells the story of Cornwall. So, and there's interesting stuff here. 3/4 of the business in town are small business. So that's out of 149 businesses, 3/4 are small business. We do have a 6% population growth. 71% are between the ages of 24 to 64. So, there is good news. And again, when we get these new families in, this doesn't even include that information. So we're going to be updating this infographic constantly, shoving those numbers down and bringing the good numbers up. So,
should we oblige by just demising ourselves?
I'm sorry. I think it's what I loved about last night was a great cross section of people. It was people of all ages, all interests, all parties. Like today, I guess our government shut down. You know what? We're not shut down. We're doing just fine. So when people want to work together as a community, we work together as a community. So whatever they have to do over there, whatever. But you know what? We can take care of ourselves, and that's what we have to do. So I welcome people of all ages, all kinds, on my committees and my town and everything else. But this just keeps getting more interesting, in my opinion. And I think infographics are a great way to get information out there. Yes, and I've got more copies. Anybody, I can pass this around if you want. Keep in mind I'm in marketing, so might put a little spin on things. Let's see, what else is happening? Kiosk is going up outside the country market. That's kind of been going on for a while. It's just a matter of getting that thing done. That was done by a grant. So we'll have a nice tourism kiosk right outside the country market. New things that are happening in 2018. Our goals are revitalize the town of Cornwall. Obviously increasing enrollment at the school. We're working hand in hand with Mike. We'll be working on an ad campaign for the school in conjunction with attracting businesses here. So we started one a couple years ago. Ben, if you don't mind giving your space here. We had run a campaign that was really fun. We actually wrote it in Finnish because Finnish is kind of weird. This one, sorry. This is the social media campaign we ran. I tried to pick a language that was weird, like Finnish is totally weird looking. So I actually heard parents talking about it in Milford because we ran the campaign down in Milford. So I thought that was really cool. The social media stats were off the charts. First of all, public schools don't advertise. They just don't. And the private schools that do suck, quite frankly. I know it's on tape and I'll say it, I don't care. Hodgkiss can come yell at me, that's cool. They're all interchangeable and they're terrible. So if we stand out as a public school and as a town advertising ourselves, we're going to stand out. Everybody's talking about, oh, we want to bring young people, we want to bring young families and businesses, but everybody's like wringing their hands. They're not doing things as much as they could be. I mean, just putting the sign up on the road saying, hey, we're available, come find us. I mean, the people driving up the road stopped here and they stayed here. So if people know to come here, they're going to stay. Okay, increasing the number of businesses. We actually have 3 businesses targeted to start in 2018. We've written at least 3 business plans. So we've been working with businesses, everything from cookies, coffee, donuts, new restaurants, all kinds. You'd be surprised. It's just like people stop in and say, I need help writing a business plan, and we're happy to do it. So if anybody needs a business plan written, just ask the EDC. Will sit down with me and work on it. We've been working with Pearlies just for the heck of it with their social media, just kind of getting them up and running, talking about their website, just helping pass the word. Launching a Consider Cornwall campaign, so that'll be tying in the school and the town. So we're asking people to consider Cornwall as a place to come educate your kids, maybe move your business, come check it out for other purposes. We'll be doing social media pretty heavily. We have a social media calendar that we'll be launching. By that I mean every month we're going to have themes, every week we're going to post, and we're going to be keeping those statistics. So if anybody wants to know what's happening with any of that stuff, don't hesitate to call or email me. We're going to be supporting Water and Septic, Northwest Connect. Everybody knows what that is. That's the broadband. That initiative is heavily underway, and that's actually getting some real movement now. And if anybody, like in the past week, I had my internet go down, and I kind of wanted to kill myself. And I have a T1 with optimum backup, and it was still screwy. So we actually had to go to hotspots. We're almost carrying our hotspots. So I'm probably going to get cancer from it, but whatever. So anybody thinks that we don't need high-speed internet, that's nuts. It's really nuts. We're supporting the town plan, the school, and the Bend project. So those are the things that we're going to be getting behind. So if there's any way that we can help as far as marketing, publicizing, educating, or anything like that, don't hesitate again to ask us for help, so we're happy to do it. And again, we'll be publicizing events. So any town events that are happening where you need us to get the word out, we can do that through social media, press releases, on the website. We're really connected to everything. We're also going to be focusing on being proactive with the press. I find it very interesting that the town of Winstead is sending letters to the editor of the Lakeville Journal. They're doing a lot of stuff up there, which I think is very interesting on how great it is to live in Winstead. I've never lived in Winstead. I've gone up to the college a couple times to speak. It seems like a nice place. But I mean, if those folks are willing to put some energy into it, I think we can do the same. And I think being proactive with the press on what's great about Cornwall, outdoor life school, low mill rate. If you look at the mill rates around here, they're nuts. And people aren't even aware of how low our mill rate is. I had conversations with some folks from New York State. They're paying out the yin for taxes. Having come from New York City, let me tell you, it was a real relief. What do you do? Talk faster?
You're fantastic, but
But I
there's a
gotta-
lot of people who need.
Got it. Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, so go Dave.
How fortunate for Cornwall.
Yeah, really. I want your optimism pill.
And,
Running
But-
meditating.
as
And coffee.
we skipped over in the alphabetical list, the Conservation Commission. I see that Pat came in. So do you want to speak, Pat?
Sure, yeah. Hi. Hi, everybody. The Cornwall Conservation Commission has undertaken a major effort for us this year, which is to revamp and update the natural resource inventory. Right now, the town has great documentation in the existing inventory, which was produced back in 2005, called the King's Mark report. That report has enormous amount of technical information in it. We want to take that information along with additional field research, update it for 2018, and put it in a more readable more accessible format so that it's approachable by everybody, yet still have and contain the technical information so that that's available for people who want to delve a little bit deeper into the technical portion of it. We hope that this exercise will allow us to identify places in town that either historically or culturally or physically are considered important or sensitive or places worthy of protection. So we want to do that exercise, identify those places around town, maybe even neighborhood by neighborhood, place by place, so that we address individual locations that people know, that people bring to us and say, hey, Black Bog Swamp is an important place. We want to know more about it. We want to talk about those places, tell their story in terms of the regimen of scientific information that we've accumulated through the King's Mark study and these further field studies. That process will be coordinated with the effort by P+Z to update the town plan so that one of the most important charges of the previous town plan was to identify these places around town that are worthy of protection. So we see our efforts synchronizing with the town plan, and that's an important part of what we're doing. The other big achievement that we've been able to accomplish this year through the help of Margie Parnell is to create a website for the Conservation Commission with a lot of information, a lot of resources, state, local, federal mapping information is available for people, and eventually we'll have this updated natural resource inventory on it. And Margie, if I believe I'm correct, it's conservecornwall.org, right?
It's Cornwall, well, that's the email address. The website address is cornwallconservation.org.
cornwallconservation.org. So I ask everybody to check it out, take a look, see what's there. Hopefully there'll be some things that interest you. The other issue that I'd like to bring up is that we've lost through attrition a number of our members. We're a commission of 6 spots, but only 3 people are on the commission right now. So if anybody is interested in this topic, we'd like you to come out and join us. We meet the 3rd Thursday of every month, 7 o'clock at the library. Would appreciate your input. You don't necessarily have to join and attend every meeting, but if you want to participate on a project that may interest you, we would certainly welcome that at any point. Thank you. Board of Ed.
Morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Catherine Taggi. I'm chair of the Board of Ed. We had, a lot of people had mentioned the event we had last night, so I'm not going to go over everything in detail. But I wanted to say that the process was really quite remarkable. The first forum was to just gather people's ideas. And we broke down into 3 areas: educational, fiscal, and general. And the group listed about 24 ideas for each of these categories, and then we narrowed them down to the top 2 or 3 issues that people voted the most on. And this document will be on the Cornwall School website, so you can take a look. But I really think it's important for everyone to attend these forums, because it's really the chance for the town to really say what they think about the school and what vision do we have for our school and for our children, our students. And unless, as Janet said, if you're going to whine about things, join, do something about it. Otherwise, just be quiet. And I absolutely agree with that. The next session that we have, the next forum, is going to be on, let's see, February 8th. That's Thursday at 6:30. And then the 3rd session will be March 9th at 6:30. All of this happens at the school. And what's going to happen in the 2nd session is that we're going to focus on the top items in each of these categories and really take it apart and analyze it. And the goal is, by the 3rd session, that we really come back with a plan. It's suggestions, it's not a fait accompli, but we will have a plan that we can bring them to the town to really talk about, to add to all this mix that we're putting together. I think one of the things that Gordon mentioned that kept coming up was housing. It was one of those smaller things, but it kept coming up that people were saying we need housing for middle income families. And so that seems to be, it's not one of the top issues, but it's something that I think is sort of echoing throughout these meetings. The other thing that I think as board chair that I'm really getting my feet into this and trying to understand the process and what's going on, but I think one of the big things is that we really need to, the school needs to come out and really talk about what's going on in the school, because it's clear from the meeting yesterday and the discussions that townspeople do not know what we're teaching our children. People don't know what, people are talking about diagramming sentences, and are the kids doing that in the classroom? Well, our programs have evolved since the time that I did diagramming sentences, but I think that it's important for people to know what our kids are learning. And the more knowledgeable people are, the better they'll be when we're making the plans. So I'm going to actively try to get some teachers to have some conversations with the community so that you all can learn about what is actually happening in the schools. So lots of things are happening. We are trying to move as quickly as we can to work closely with Gordon and the other town committees to really make the school a vital place, and it's our future, and it's very exciting. So I'm positive.
The Energy Task Force?
Oh. Here, we hold you. All right. It's all right, thanks. Hello. The Energy Task Force is transitioning, or it's actually in a difficult but very positive place in that it was originated as, well, first it came out as a general ecological awareness group that morphed into an energy conservation group. And that was stimulated by a program called the Clean Communities Program. That was in around 2006, and it actually closed at the end of November. And what that means, though, is that the utilities are going to have, and also the Green Bank, have cut their budgets and employees by down to about 30%. And, but it's ironic that the funding for a lot of the programs is still there, but there are no people manning it, but it's still there. So there has continually been a leadership, a Connecticut State leadership group of energy task force leaders who are kind of the citizen advocates for all these things, and they've been using us as outreach, as PR for all these different programs. That's what I've been doing this last decade. But now, even more, it's important that we exist because that money is still left over there and people have to get to it. So the programs in particular are, for instance, the HES, the Home Energy Solutions Home Audit Program. That one is pretty much out. However, the Home Energy Solutions EI, or IE, income I can't say the word.
Eligibility?
Eligibility, thank you. That one is still there. So the SBEA is still there.
What's that?
The small business. And also the CPACE for Green Bank. And there are other programs that those are the big ones. So it's an odd situation. But underneath it all, here's the good news. People have seen this coming. A lot of people have been aware of this, particularly the Connecticut Council of Municipalities and a lot of private foundations, including Maine, Hampshire, and there's a third one, that have developed a program over the last year and a half of municipal leaders, about 150 municipal leaders got together to create an overall program called Sustainable CT. I mentioned this last year. That program is really quite fabulous because what it does is it goes back to the original idea of sustainability, which is how are we managing our natural resources? How are we both going to be prudent and progressive in terms of developing our towns? And what aspects will that take? And they have broken that down into 9 with a wildcard group, 10 groups. And some of them are natural resource management, infrastructure, cultural ecosystems, economic development, planning, and housing. And it has actions that you can take. It's a program, and I've got handouts for anybody who's interested in this. It has actions that you can take. They've all been thoroughly researched with resources, plus funding resources for these different actions. And what they're trying to do is get towns to get involved in this program such that they can develop resiliency and strong communities that can handle both climate issues and the economic changes that are going on that Gordon is so acutely aware of. And so it's a terrific program. The task for me, to a large degree, is to inform all the different organizations of how they can participate, how they can interrelate and network with each other, and participate in the program overall. I've already gotten involved with particularly the natural resources sides of things in our Conservation Commission and in the Land Trust. They're on board in terms of developing management plans and inventories. And so that's the story in the big picture. I just also want to mention that in terms of our program, we had a couple of local actions within the Energy Task Force, which have some updating to be told. One is that our fuel oil, group is still very vibrant. That saves Cornwall residents about $100,000 a year. That's no small thing. The other thing is that our gardening program that we had in the library has been moved. That we proved to require educational assistance, so that left the library and is the as a gift from the Bennetts. The boxes and the program have been moved over to the school, and they wanted them over there, and they're going to be using them for their educational programming. And I think that's the only thing I've got to say, except that I invite, the Historic Society will be a part of this immediately, of the Sustainable CT programming, as well as other organizations. I'll get around to all of you. I have the overall plan and information with me, which I'd like to hand out, and then I'm available to talk individually to different groups. So, thank you.
Board of Finance? Anyone here from the Board of Finance who wants to speak? Okay. The Housing Corporation. We may have time for questions and answers soon. Inland wetlands?
Can I combine the CPA and district
Okay.
at the end?
Yeah?
If there's somebody else that wants to go ahead.
Okay, so you'll do that at the end. Okay. Park and Rec?
I can speak on Park and Rec.
Okay.
Park and Rec, probably most of you know, we have a new director, Jen Markauer. She's absolutely fantastic. She's very enthusiastic. One of the things that we have a lot of is seniors in Cornwall, so given that's what we have a lot of, she's worked with that. She's really ramped up a lot of senior activities. So I would expect she would do the same if we get more children, that we would, she'd be there for us as far as ramping up that aspect of our community. But it's a sort of a repeat every year for the most part, but Jen has added new things to it, new activities, and just a little more pizzazz to our activities. So I think it shows. I think our Halloween event that we hold here was a big success. So we're excited to have Jen on board. That's about it.
Anyone for the Committee for Seniors? The West Cornwall Water Septic Committee. That's a big topic, so...
I could give a brief update on that.
Okay.
Turn up the heat. I'll speak loudly so it will speak the levels. I think we're out of oil. It happens this morning. So anyway, hopefully we're up to 65. Here we go. So I'm not on the water septic committee, but I go to all their meetings, and it's been an interesting year. We've sort of done more work on that issue than has been done ever. So the main thing is that the report was complete this December by Steve McDonald and WMC Engineering, and it's available online on the Cornwall website, so people can see what's being proposed. It's still very much a work in progress. There was quite a bit of resident input on the non-desirability of having a sewer treatment plant right in the village of West Cornwall. The basic plan was to service the core part of the town with a sewer treatment plant, which isn't like an old sewer treatment plant, it's a modern sewer treatment plant, so it wouldn't have the noise or the smell of the old days. but even a new age plant is held not to be the thing to have near your house. So anyway, so the committee and the engineer are looking at alternate sites away from residential areas. So that's one issue, plus how does the town finance this? What role in financing do the users play? What is the science behind the ecology of the river? So it's been very interesting. A lot of towns sort of tackled this issue 100 years ago, put in some sort of sewer system, which now some of them have to replace. So we're sort of we're sort of the same level as some other places, but most places with this concentration had some sort of plan. But most places also we're finding have a big generator of septic, whether it's a school or a hospital or a manufacturing base that would help pay the user costs of such a system. And we don't have that in West Cornwall, so that's one of the aspects of it too. We have talked to Trinity about their needs, and they are up and running. I think the system is in pretty good shape, and they're working on their 5-year plan next year. So they have some plans to grow their campus, but nothing that would require them at this point to hook on to a West Cornwall system. So anyway, the committee's gearing up for another year. Todd and the engineer and I are going to meet DEP people, get some guidance next week, and keep on pushing it forward. And again, we'll try to come up with something that does the maximum amount of good for the most amount of pleasure of people that actually use the system, live near it, whatever. So, and then it ultimately will have to be a town vote at some point. So anyway, the committee's worked hard and got a lot of information, but it's not an easy task. Thank you.
Anyone for the Green Hill Lake Task Force? It's good sometimes only to hear that these groups exist. The Housatonic River Commission? Okay. HCA? I hear a group called HEAL has to be on the agenda. Is there a representative from HEAL? Okay. It's an environmental action group that I think is particularly concerned with the Housatonic. I think Judy Herkimer is very involved in that. Northwest Hills Council of Governments. All right, so Karen.
Everybody can hear me have a pretty strong voice these days. I'm going to just touch on a couple quick things. As you know, in the land use office, I work for the Zoning Board of Appeals. I work for the Inland Wetlands Commission. The Zoning Board of Appeals obviously is application or a decision against the zoning enforcement officer, namely me. Agency, we have had very little of any action in the past couple of years. We managed to get through everything that's going on without having any issues coming to the ZBA. In terms of the Wetlands Commission, I have one new member here, Peter Demi, who has joined the commission and with a great amount of tenacity and interest in learning. The Wetlands Commission, again, is an application-driven entity. We have had some success this year on something that really wasn't our purview. And that is that we have seen after many years the repair of the Nash Pond spillway, which has been an issue of concern. That is a state issue. The repair is under the jurisdiction of the Connecticut State Dam Safety Division. The Wetlands Commission has stood behind me in terms of really pushing on getting this repair done. We have some downstream neighbors that could have had some problems if it let go. In fact, they would have had flooded backyards. It was approved, the repair was actually approved in August, and it has been completed. So what you're seeing is a newly repaired dam, and the commission, as I said, has been very helpful to me in backing me up and making sure that all of the town and the neighbors' concerns were taken care of. For the first time since I've been here I'm going in my 11th year, we actually have a public hearing in the next couple of weeks, because there's a dredging project that is being proposed in the Nash Pond, and that is under local jurisdiction. That will be the first time the Inland Wetlands Commission has had to take out their new regulations that we redid in 2011 to bring us out of the 70s and 80s where our regulations were tied to. So it's going to be an interesting discussion, interesting public hearing. It speaks to the regulations on the state level that are for the protection of natural resources called inland wetlands and waterways. It is a resource application dissimilar to planning and zoning, health, safety, and welfare. This is basically decision driven on the impact to the resource, the habitat, whatever, and not to the people. So it will be our first public hearing. It's open, obviously, to the public. There will be presentations in terms of habitat, so if anybody would like to come and listen to the presentation as to how the pond is going to be dredged to reestablish fish habitat, create fish deep areas, and et cetera, and actually have some sort of a walkway and some islands in it. So it's a pretty expansive project. So that's where the Wetlands Commission is now. We will also be having another public hearing later in the spring to amend the wetlands regulations. The state has asked or has amended the state regulations to allow as-of-right uses for fire protection, and the Wetlands Commission will be updating our regulations to make it as-of-right to something that the Wetlands Commission and I've been working for in this way to make sure that in the town that when there are fires, and we've definitely had some pretty horrific fires here in the past 4 or 5 years, that there is adequate water protection that your fire department can get to quickly and get these concerns knocked down. So that's where the Wetlands Commission is right now. I also want to speak I work at the Northwest Conservation District. We've had different executive director. We've lost Sean to the Lake Warmont Task Force. We have now Cynthia Rabinowitz, who is moving us into a little bit more agricultural and energy bent. I'm very pleased to be working with her. Our two women our age, we lose our keys several times a day, so we spend a lot of time looking for the same thing in life, but we have a common energy, and we'll be at the Goshen Fairgrounds with emphasis on habitat pollinators and rain gardens and LID, which is low impact development, which is stormwater management, which is being encouraged in all the towns. Cornwall has made a commitment to it. It is basically addressing the quality of water, whether it be the Housatonic River or in the backyard, but clean water and clean air is certainly something that we all need to be paying attention to these days. So I'm always have something new at the district. And in closing, I want to speak for the land use office, of which I'm kind of the one that heads it. I am very fortunate when I made a decision 11 years ago. I was very fortunate that the district allowed me to stay in one town, which was Cornwall. The town plan, I started 10 years ago on the town plan. Rick Lynn could not be here. I want to speak for the fact that as we've gone with a new Northwest Hills COG, that the COG that we deal with, which is Rick Lynn, Jocelyn Eyre, and Joanna, have done great things in terms of providing education and outreach to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Cornwall is this commission right here is the most active commission that comes to 5th Thursday meeting. The COG has been instrumental in providing educational process for site plan review and to make your Planning and Zoning Commission much more educated. They're coming in the past 10 years, compliments of funding. The Planning and Zoning Commission has had the opportunity, unlike other towns, to really pay attention to what the town plan has said and implemented many things, housing, the inner corridor regulations, and now the agricultural regulations in terms of economic development. I am very pleased to say that I work in a land use office in which I have great partners. I have a great partner with Janice Sanders in terms of the Economic Development Commission, which she speaks about in terms of what they're doing, comes to my office as their own policy. And I'm very grateful to be here and to have a welcoming, respectful community, and also have a great first selectman to work with, because Gordon is always comes to my office, and I think it's the land use office responsibility to try and find a way to make things work. It might not always be what makes people happy, but it hopefully is respectful to the community at large. Thank you.
Are there any, you certainly have time for questions for any of the speakers or any of us. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, David, you said that your committee for the has already been formed. Do you want to tell us who's on that?
On the subcommittee?
Yeah.
Yes, it's Margie Purnell, who is here, and Debbie Bennett, who's here, and Katie Freigang, who's here, and who am I forgetting? And Hector Prudo, who's here. Okay. Sorry, Hector.
Will all the other committees be having the same number will all the subcommittees have the same number of members on the
It's up to the, it's up to the chairs of those subcommittees. I mean, I personally think that that's a good number, but it's up to those chairs.
It's also up to the community to volunteer. If I have nobody knocking, then I might be the only one on my subcommittee.
It's true.
It's not clear what subcommittees you're trying to fill and everything. Can you
Okay.
explain that?
Yeah, so I could,
Thank you.
I'll say that over again. Just so I mentioned them all. There's 5 subcommittees, and they don't all have to be equally active, but these are 5 general realms that if each has a report, it'll cover them. So the first is community resources. Steve is.
Jill and myself, yes.
No, it's not me.
It's all you.
No, I said I would be.
Why don't you have Steve tell us what
Well,
it's going to focus on?
We had that forum up at the CCS a while ago, and it's, if I can reiterate on that, it's exactly sort of what it says. It's about the community. I see it more as getting community to get involved and become part of the community, not just a resident of the community. And it's really, again, it's up to the townspeople to sort of put forth what they want to do, what that means to them. I've had one inquiry regarding it, so if you, and it's going to be part of, it's all designed to help contribute to the town plan as far as what our community wants, and so it's not us that's really making it, it's supposed to be us.
Mm-hmm.
So
an example which I could think of as something that would help, that ought to be covered under that group, is something about some help for the seniors. The seniors are part of our community. There is a Cornwall committee for seniors, but it seems to me that is a resource that could be fleshed out a little bit. There's a lot more people who need a lot more help.
David, would you ask Gordon, I think the committee for seniors has been disbanded and moved into the Park and Rec.
yes,
Is that true?
it's informally true.
Inactive.
Say again, Gordon?
At this point. At this point, they're not meeting. They're inactive. They said the programs that have been augmented through the social service department, and especially the park and rec new programs, have made them feel like things are in good shape for seniors at the current time, with what they wrote us. So we can't make people go to meetings.
Right. But anyway, that's an example that can be thought about as part of this process. Economic development, is certainly an obvious, big, important subcommittee. The housing is a big, important subcommittee. Jill, so Anna's and James are the economic. So Anna Tamel and James Laporte are the co-chairs of the economic development subcommittee, and the Jill Cutler, the housing, and Peter Kalmas, sorry, and natural resources the chair of, and then there's this new subcommittee youth, which Ben and Ginny, which one are you on?
No, Ginny's with me.
Okay.
I'm supposed to help,
Okay.
but
I'm supposed to
until I
help you.
kind of float on my own.
Okay. So those are the subcommittees, and they don't all have to, as I said earlier, they don't all have to proceed at the same rate and accomplish the same degree of expansiveness. The range of obligation or opportunity, depending on how you want to look at it, is some towns have opted to, this actually has happened, like the town of Sharon. I believe it's Sharon. I'm on tape here, so if I'm wrong, I'm in trouble. But I think it recently had to update its town plan, and I think it did something like say, our last town plan is fine, period. And that was it. And then at the other end of the spectrum, there's the town of Washington, I think it is, that hired a big fancy consultant, spent a lot of money, and got a very large, fleshed out plan. For us, of course, the amount of money that's spent isn't the primary thing, but before I was this is again my opportunity to be on the soapbox a little bit and say that before I was part of planning and zoning, it would have been pretty easy to write off in my mind the idea of a town plan and think, what influence is that going to have? But I'm here to tell you that it can have a huge influence. That, for instance, for example, if there is going to be a change in the regulation that is going to significantly make affordable housing and workforce housing more easily accomplished in Cornwall, the appropriate place for that to be pushed for is in the town plan. It becomes much easier to then implement if the town is on record as having said it wants that. If the town isn't on record, it's harder to do. So that's, and in terms of some of our accomplishments that have happened, it was because they were in the town plan. Like accessory apartments was mentioned as a priority. So we got to devote energy to it, and lo and behold, 5 years after, we adopted this accessory apartment reg maybe 4 years ago. I think in the 15 years I've been on P+Z prior, whatever, 10 years prior to that, I don't think there was a single accessory apartment applied for. And in the 4 years since it was approved, because it made it easier, I don't know how many there's been, maybe 10.
Yes.
So it's, these things are able to make a difference. The town plan. I mean, I have individual questions for each of the individual people, but I mean, personally, I don't think I have to ask them here. Does anyone have any questions of the assembled group? And then maybe in closing, again to plug this process is, we probably have all your emails, but leave us your email, please, if we don't have it. And because it's our way of keeping you informed about the process. And we are going to utilize surveys as part of this process, and information about that will be in the Chronicle, but it'll also come by an email. And please participate and forward those emails and talk to other people about participating, at least in that aspect of it. Anything else? Can I hear Joanne?
Yeah, I have one other thing, and that's that I heard no one address, and it's a big action that didn't happen in direct contradiction to the existing plan of conservation and development, which says that all economic activity in the community will be directed towards Cornwall Bridge, where I live, or West Cornwall. And yet we took a major economic activity in this town, the farmer's market, and moved it to the place where in the last plan of conservation and development, and I attended those meetings, we said we didn't want commercial activity. And I have heard neither the Economic Development Committee, nor the Planning and Zoning, or a selectman, or anybody really address this issue. What's going to happen in the next year?
Well,
Can I say something?
but hold on a second. I would just, I think your characterization of the town plan is slanting things a little bit. That I don't think there was all economic development in the.
It says, I believe, that economic activity will be focused on West Cornwall and Cornwall Bridge. It does say that.
Right, so that, that can be interpreted a few ways. I
It's
don't.
hard to interpret it with, if you were at those meetings 8 years ago, there was a very definitive feeling that economic activity was not wanted in this part of town.
Right.
It helps to hear all views. I don't think this is the
I'd like to hear the view of the planning and zoning members. I'd like to hear the view of more people on this issue.
But I don't know if this is the. I mean, if anyone wants to speak to that now, I think town plans are also living documents. So Karen.
I would just like to point out that the farmers markets are in the zoning regulations as permitted uses with zoning permits, and it does not drive or require that it be either in Cornwall Bridge or in West Cornwall. So the two have to comply with the zoning regulations, and they will be revisited when both ask for their zoning permits to be renewed in the next 2 months. So I think that could certainly be brought up at that point. It will be a topic of discussion, as you're aware. I have the authority to sign off on zoning permits for farmers markets.
Yeah, that was my concern, because I remember the very first farmers market we put together down in Cornwall Ridge. We had to cancel because we were too close to the Sharon line. We had to get permission from them. So I think familiar with the process over a long period of time.
Any other questions or Janet?
So I actually got asked about this topic, and it was reported in the Chronicle. I just moved here 8 years ago, so I don't know all the history of everything. But the purpose of the Economic Development Commission is to attract new businesses and provide support for businesses that exist. The farmers market consists of small business people who are allowed to conduct their business where they want and where they think they can do the best business. So from my perspective, both as EDC chair and as a small business person, if someone came to me and said, I want you to move your business over there, I think that's inappropriate. So I should be able to conduct my business where I wish to conduct my business. That group of people got together and decided to conduct their business where they thought it would be most beneficial to them. So that was my understanding of, what happened. And I think that people get emotional about things, especially when it comes to things as wonderful as a farmer's market. I think regardless of where it's held, I think we should all support the markets. I think they are, the backbone of this country. And, I think, the farmer's market is going to move where they think they can do the most business. And they should be allowed to do that. And I think we should support them wherever they choose to go. That's my 2 cents.
Any other questions or for anyone else or comments?
Could I move that this meeting come to a closure?
There's still a lot of refreshments in back. Please help yourselves.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.